If you ask me, General Hospital has been serving up one of those slow burn detonations that you can feel before you actually hear it. And this Sidwell and Nathan situation is exactly that kind of pressure cooker. I have watched this show long enough to know when a power structure is starting to crack. And right now, the whole setup looks like it is trembling on its last leg. Nathan is not acting like a loyal soldier anymore. He is acting like a man who has finally gotten tired of swallowing orders. And once that happens, the whole game changes. That is the part that has my attention. Because when a subordinate stops fearing the boss does not stay boss for very long. What makes this so sharp is that Nathan is not just rebelling in some small, symbolic way. He has already crossed a line by dragging Jocelyn to Sidwell's castle and locking her up there. That alone is enough to make the situation feel dangerous and messy. But then Nathan went further and took it upon himself to order Pascal to watch over Jocelyn. That may sound like a tiny shift in command on the surface, but to me, it says everything. Nathan was not simply carrying out Sidwell's plan. He was freelancing. He was improvising inside a machine that was never built for improvisation. And men like Sidwell do not forgive that lightly. They want obedience, not initiative. They want pawns, not partners. That is why I think Sidwell has every reason to explode at Nathan, and Nathan has every reason to explode right back. This is not just about one bad decision. It is about status, control, and bruised pride on both sides. Sidwell is the type who probably believes every person around him should know their place without being told twice. Nathan, on the other hand, seems done pretending he is grateful for scraps. That is a dangerous combination. Once two men like that start measuring each other with their eyes, the room stops feeling like a conversation and starts feeling like a countdown. And let me say this, because it matters. Nathan may not be clean in this story, but he is not coming to the table empty-handed either. He can point to a long trail of damage he has already done for Sidwell. The photo of Laura and Sonny beside Dalton's body in the trunk of Laura's car feels like one of those ugly little pieces of blackmail that keeps a villain smiling from the shadows. If Nathan was the one who followed Sidwell's instructions there, then he has already helped hand Sidwell leverage over both Sonny and Laura. That is not a minor favor. That is the kind of dirty work that gives a man power over entire lives. And because of that, Nathan can very reasonably turn around and say he has earned something more than scolding. That is what makes this conflict so believable to me. Nathan is not saying I have been innocent all along. He is saying, I have done your bidding, I have carried your water, and you do not get to act shocked now that I made a move of my own. That is a potent argument, even in the mouth of a man who has done terrible things. In a twisted way, he is making the classic betrayal case. I built your empire, so do not treat me like a disposable tool. Still, that logic only goes so far, because the moment Nathan took Jocelyn and added Pascal into the mix, he stopped being predictable, and unpredictability is poison to someone like Sidwell. I think that is what truly enrages him. Not just the risk, not just the inconvenience. It is the insult. Nathan made a decision that altered the board without asking permission. For a man like Sidwell, that is not teamwork. That is insubordination with a sharp edge. And then the whole thing turns into that deliciously awful soap opera moment where two men who think they are in control suddenly realize only one of them can leave standing. I can almost feel the temperature in the scene dropping when Sidwell reaches for the gun. That is the kind of move that tells you he has stopped trying to talk and started trying to erase the problem. But here is where Nathan may have the upper hand. And in a story like this, the first man to stop arguing is usually the first man to survive. If Nathan is faster, smarter, or simply more desperate in that exact second, then Sidwell is in serious trouble. And honestly, that would fit the pattern General Hospital loves to use when a villain gets too comfortable. The man who believes he controls everyone around him often forgets that fear cuts both ways. The same people he bullies can become the ones who know exactly where to aim. If Nathan does take Sidwell down, I would not see it as random shock value. I would see it as the natural collapse of a rotten arrangement. A boss who rules through intimidation eventually creates the very threat that destroys him. What hits me hardest, though, is the irony. Sidwell dies, and he does not see it coming from an enemy outside the circle. It comes from someone already inside the room, someone already stained by his orders, someone he probably assumed would never dare. That is the cruel beauty of this kind of storyline. The master manipulator spends so much time controlling other people that he never learns how fragile his own throne really is. Then, one day, the servant becomes the executioner, and the whole castle of lies comes down with one gunshot. I also think this matters for Jocelyn, Laura, Sunny, and even Pascal, because the fallout from this kind of betrayal never stays contained. Once Sidwell is gone, whatever secrets he was holding does not magically vanish. Nathan's role in the photo setup, the blackmail, the harbor leverage, and the kidnapping all remain alive in the memory of the story. That means a death is not the end. It is the first crack in a much bigger dam. And that is exactly why I keep leaning in. The show is not just asking who wins the argument. It is asking who survives the wreckage. For me, the biggest question is whether Nathan sees himself as a freedom fighter or just a man who finally got cornered into choosing himself. I do not think he is pure, and I do not think Sidwell is the only monster here. That is what makes this so tasty as a viewer. Nobody has clean hands, and everyone is carrying some part of the rot. But once Nathan decides he will no longer kneel, the hierarchy breaks. That is the point of no return. That is the instant the story becomes a funeral without anyone announcing the guest list. So, yes, I think Sidwell may be walking straight toward his end, and I think Nathan is the one holding the door open. Maybe Nathan believes he is finally taking control. Maybe he thinks he is reclaiming some dignity after doing too much dirty work. Or maybe he is simply too angry to stop himself. Whatever the reason, the result feels the same to me. Sidwell pushed too hard, Nathan pushed back, and now the whole arrangement looks ready to collapse and smoke in silence. And in a soap like General Hospital, that kind of silence never lasts very long.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.